there, it's Madame McLean. Let's learn a little bit about what I've been working on. My project was to create technology-enhanced math centers so that I could work with a small group doing guided math. I looked into various math apps and sites to design or modify activities that are suitable for early elementary French immersion students. My goals for the project were to increase student engagement and motivation when students were working on independent math centers. I thought that using technology would be an interesting way to provide students with extra learning supports and feedback. This way, students can work independently while I can complete small group guided math. Given that I used so many different apps and sites, I wanted to use something as a content holder for all my information. This way it's easy for me to find when I'm doing my planning, and it's also easy for me to share with other grade 1 French immersion teachers. Here's my math outcomes and learning activities landing page. Here I have each unit listed. So if I wanted to go to a specific unit, I can simply click on that box. It'll take me right to number sense. I broke down every part of the math curriculum into categories of outcomes. So this one is saying number sequences and skip counting. Then it gets into this general curriculum outcome, and finally the specific outcomes. Each outcome then has activities listed below. Here are a few examples of the math apps and sites that I found to design my activities. In this activity, students are practicing saying numbers between 1 and 100. Included is a template with a hundreds chart. The instructions say for students to add response, watch a video that goes through the numbers 1 to 100 to practice again. Then they will use the drawing tool to circle 20 numbers of their choice from the template. After that, they record their voice while pointing to those numbers, saying the numbers out loud. So this way I can have some assessment of seeing how the students do, but there's also some choice for students, and there are lots of supports available with visuals and audio instructions, as well as a video to reflect. My primary goal for using Seesaw would be as formative assessment. All of the activities are specifically connected to a curriculum outcome. Something that I love about Seesaw is that I can really use the universal design for learning, offering students a lot of choice and also language supports for second language learners. In terms of the SAMR model, Seesaw offers me a lot of opportunities for transformation where I can modify or redefine activities. In this example on the Freckle app, you can see how students would be provided with extra support such as hints and some video examples to help them solve a problem. SplashLearn is a great example of game-based learning in the math classroom, where coins and points are offered and students feel like they're playing a game while they're practicing basic math facts. Freckle and SplashLearn both also offer reports that are self-corrected, so that makes it really easy for me to have an idea of how the students are doing. Not only that, these are both game-based learning, so they're really fun and really engaging for students. One of the best things about it is that I find the feedback that is offered through these two platforms to act as a digital teacher so that students are receiving feedback and support along the way. In terms of the SAMR model, this offers something that would not have otherwise been possible. I'm not physically there, but they still have the support. So there's a lot of modification and redefinition. Although I'm not actually teaching in the classroom right now, I decided to think of some ways that I would evaluate the success of this project. And the biggest one would be seeing how the students actually felt about using technology in these math centers. Since my students are the ones actually using these apps and sites, I needed to make some student-friendly evaluation. Some of the ideas I had would be to do cross-curricular with some language arts, where students would write a review and provide their opinion on the different apps and sites. Alternatively, they could make a commercial or do a Flipgrid response using video. Other ideas I had include using Plickers and Google Forms. I did a lot of reflecting on everything I have learned in the process of creating this project. I wanted to know how to give the best experience possible to my students. First, I found ways to foster student independence. Technology can sometimes be difficult to navigate, so I tried to make things as simple and accessible for my students as possible. My laminated QR code flipbooks would be a way for students to easily access the different sites and apps that we use, as well as find specific activities. My instructional videos and whole class technology lessons will give students a lot of opportunities to learn how to use the technology so that they can do so independently. Giving students access at home not only gets parents and families involved, but it also gives students a lot of exposure to the technology. I also learned how to select appropriate activities for my students. I learned that it's really important to offer a variety of tasks to students. Some might be game-based, and some might be mostly for assessment, but I wanted students to always be excited about the Math Technology Center. My solution to working around not having an accessible amount of French activities is to find things that could be easily muted and use only numbers so that students can still practice and think in French. I could also use these lessons in small group or as a whole class. And finally, I thought that reflecting back on what I know about TPAC and the SAMR models really made sure that my activities were meaningful, specific, and also offered some form of transformation to enhance the technology center. And finally, I learned how to reduce, reuse, and recycle. By reduce, I mean keeping things as simple as I could. It's easy to get excited and carried away with technology, but with early elementary students, it's really important that they can achieve the task independently. I reused a lot of existing activities that are already out there and learned that it's really important not to reinvent the wheel. Find out what already exists and use it. Originally, I thought that recycling the same activity multiple times would be boring for students, but I actually think it would give them a lot of opportunities to really get hands-on with the tech and get a lot of modeling too, so that when they go to work on it on their own, they know exactly what to do. And that's a wrap. I can't wait to try this out with my students in September. Hope you learned something new.